By the late 1960s and early 1970s, the large bureaucratic organization was beginning to show signs of wear and tear. There's no single reason for this deterioration, but several are worth mentioning. First, the 1970s witnessed a global economic crisis. Second, there was a global energy crisis precipitated by the West's increased reliance on Middle East oil supplies, a supply that was unpredictable because of political instability in that region of the world. Third, during this time, many nations saw a great deal of industrial unrest. Fourth, and related, political unrest increased in the 1960s, much of it directed at the government and large corporations. In short, by the 1970s, capitalism faced a serious challenge to its legitimacy, largely due to the fact that it faced a crisis of capital accumulation. In other words, capitalism wasn't doing what it was supposed to do, create wealth like capital and happiness. In defining neoliberalism, literally new liberalism, let's first distinguish it from liberalism. While today in politics, people might define themselves as liberal or conservative, historically speaking, liberalism has referred to a political and economic philosophy in which the freedom of individual is the defining feature of society. The role of government in such a system is both to protect these freedoms and to limit its involvement in the lives of individuals. The common interest is served by enabling individuals to pursue their own economic self-interest, and hence, the primary role of government should be to allow the economic freedom of the individual to flourish. Neoliberalism, on the other hand, constituted a reworking of classic liberalism for a 20th century capitalist economy. Neoliberals argue that classic liberalism did not go far enough. It restricted itself to the creation of a political and economic system that enabled the individual to exercise his or her economic and political self-interest. Neoliberalism argues that to maximize the social good, the model of the market must be extended to all realms of society. While neoliberalism began as an economic philosophy, it has evolved into a fundamental way of thinking about life. In this sense, we might say that neoliberalism is a common sense way for us to understand ourselves and the larger social and economic world in which we live. As such, communication plays a central role in neoliberalism in that neoliberalism shapes how we communicate with each other, and organizations under neoliberalism are increasingly communicative structures. At the center of this neoliberal logic of the market is the idea that each social actor must be viewed as human capital. We each possess a set of skills, knowledge, and abilities that we are responsible for maintaining and improving. A general sense of insecurity has rapidly become a defining feature of neoliberal discourse. Under Fordism, the assumption was that work was available even for people with few qualifications. Under neoliberalism, everyone lives with a general sense of competition in which one's work status can never be taken for granted. Another feature of neoliberalism is not only the emergence of insecure work, but the emergence of insecure work identity. The emergence of neoliberalism over the last 30 years has led some profound changes in 21st century organizations. As neoliberalism emerged as dominant economic model for capitalism, so organizations began to restructure themselves to better take advantage of a more turbulent economic environment. One of the most frequently touted features of the post-Fordist organization is the flexibility in organizational form. While Fordist organizations tended to involve large capital investments in heavy and costly machinery that made large quantities of the same product, post-Fordist organizations put in place a process in which flexibility and adaptability are key. In addition to flexibility in the labor process itself, post-Fordist organizations also depend on a flexible labor market through the extensive use of subcontracting and part-time and temporary employees. A companion to the flexible organizational structure is the development of a high-trust, de-differentiated labor process. The emergence of the post-Fordist organization has not meant the end of Fordism.